Hello, Connecticut, and welcome to the Paid Leave Podcast. The title basically says it all. I'm Nancy Barrow, and I will be delving into this new state program and how it can help you and your family. This podcast will give you information you should know about Connecticut paid leave and maybe just a little bit more. Connecticut paid leave brings peace of mind to your home, family, and workplace. Welcome to the Paid Leave Podcast. October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Connecticut Paid Leave gives income replacement so you can take time off from work to take care of your own serious health condition or that of a loved one. We also give up to 12 days of income replacement for family violence, also known as domestic violence. You can get these benefits to seek medical or psychological care, to seek care from a victim services organization, to move or relocate, or to participate in any civil or criminal proceeding relating to family violence. And so far, 126 people have applied for Connecticut paid leave benefits under the family violence umbrella. If someone listening needs help or just someone to talk to, please visit ctsafeconnect.org or text or call 888-774-2900. Advocates are available 24/7, available in English and Spanish. And please dial 911 if you think you are in danger. Domestic violence will be part of our discussion today. We'll talk about getting on the other side and inspiring others to heal and get healthy and happy. And joining me today is the CEO of the FLYY with 2Ys movement. And of course, that stands for Freedom to Love the You and You. She is an empowerment freedom life coach. She teaches mindfulness, a fitness and movement specialist, a Zumba instructor. She's an inspirational speaker, has wellness workshops, and she's a spiritual therapist and has helped hundreds and hundreds of women find themselves, love themselves, and regain their power with mind, body, and spirit healing, something she may have had to do at one time. Welcome to the podcast, Sistah Anyango. I love your energy, and I'm so thankful that you're here to talk on this podcast.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm so glad that you reached out and wanted to connect. It is an awesome feeling.
Tell me what your name means.
Anyango?
Yeah.
Anyango means morning sunshine. Ya Asantewa was actually a Ghanaian tribal warrior many, many moons ago who, when it was time to retrieve the golden stool, when it was time to confront the British, the men were sort of determining how to get that done. She indicated that she would go ahead and work with her female warriors to get it done. And they went in. It's been known as one of the greatest moments in Ghanaians' history. They didn't win, but the impact of female empowerment, of women warriors, was so extensive that is still known as one of the greatest moments in Ghanaians' history. So when I was in graduate school, because I did my graduate work at Ohio State University, we had a president that came in who was very racist. So we decided that we were going to put him on notice. I was part of an organization as a graduate student called Just Us. So a statement was created. The idea really was just to go into the welcome reception, crash it, confront him, and let him know we were watching him. So it was time to go into the reception. We're outside the door. No one would make a movement to read the statement. So I said, give it to me. And so we opened the door. We went in. I got in his face. I read the statement. I didn't wait for him to respond because that wasn't the moment. And we went and we left. So we get outside after we finished, and one of the other students was like, yo, Sister Anyango, you know Yaha Santiwa. I said, well, who is she? He said, go look her up. So I looked her up. I was like, whoa, what a compliment, what an honor, what an energy inside me to say, whoa, you likened my energy to her?
A warrior.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I held on to that energy. Anyango was given to me when I did a homestay visit in Kenya in undergrad with Colgate University. So that means morning sunshine. So I knew at some point I would take on the full name. So I took it on after I got married in 2014. That was like, say my name, say my name. So it was Anyango Ya Santiwa hyphen battles. At the time when I was magically married, I'm now, as you know, delightfully divorced. So we'd be dropping the battles, and it will be Anyango Ya Santiwa. And that is me. So when people ask me, what does your name mean? It's Morning Sunshine, African Descendant Warrior.
Wow. That is incredible. Well, it pretty much embodies who you are, right? Well, tell me about what happened before you became a CEO in 2007. Was that when you went through the domestic violence? When did that occur?
That was much later.
Okay.
So when 2000 came around, I was ready to go. At the time, I was working for Catholic Charities. I was their inaugural Family Center director for the Asylum Hill Family Center.
And you worked at the Urban League,
Yeah,
right?
I worked at the Urban League for sure, for DCF as well. But I think Catholic Charities, being the Asylum Hill Family Director, and in that energy of Asylum Hill, bringing families together, empowering families, empowering parents, and empowering families to empower their children, because I'm a mom of 6, was one of the greatest moments that I've had in terms of my employment history, and that was the last. And then it became, I needed to move, I needed to leave, I needed to transition. So, I'm very, very spiritually grounded and connecting with my higher power and saying, when can I go? And then I asked, it was like, no, not yet. There's still more for you to learn. There's still more for you to do. Next 30 days now, no, not yet, Anyango. There's more for you to do. Next 30 days, can I leave now? Yes. So when I resigned, then I started a master's at CCSU in marriage and family therapy. I did 2 years in. I didn't necessarily finish because it was taking too much time away from home. I needed to be home with my children. Coincidentally, at the same time, I stepped into the world of fitness. So I got my Zumba license. So 2007, I resigned. I got my Zumba license, and I launched FLYY at the same time.
Holy cow.
So it was like, Spirit said go. I was like, yes! I'm out.
So you weren't scared leaving?
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrified. But there's a place inside when I coach, because I have this direct experience where you feel the fear and do it anyway. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You feel your fear, you find your faith, and then you fly. You do it anyway, and you fly on. And then a multitude of moments of opportunities open up for you when you choose to feel the fear, find your faith, and fly on with love and support. We don't do that process by ourselves.
Right.
And that's where I come in. I'm the one to help you when you is to connect you with the fear, because I want you to connect with it, because we don't act like it doesn't exist. We don't pretend it's not here. It is here. And there's a reason for its existence, to really propel you towards your faith, and then your ability, your gifts, your desires, your purpose to then fly on. Because we don't connect with it until we connect with that fear, which brings us down to the base of our vulnerability, where we find our strength.
And change will come.
Absolutely. That's where the transformation happens. For sure. So, terrified? Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Starting your own business is fearful. As a woman of color.
Right. I didn't really know I was starting a business. I was answering my calling. So Spirit said, I need you to do this. And I'm like, okay. So it wasn't necessarily that I said, I'm going to start a business. It was, I'm responding to my calling at the next level.
Okay.
And then with the energy around FLYY, because I was sitting in, before I resigned, I was sitting in one of my last moments at Catholic Charities at a conference in Avon. And we had to create a workshop. The workshop I knew was Fitness for the Fly Female. I didn't know what the acronym stood for. I just knew FLYY, because when you say fly, it already carries an energy of I'm this, I'm that, I'm confident, I'm bold, I'm courageous. So I knew I wanted that. I knew FLYY was being given to me as an acronym in all caps. So freedom and love came very quickly. I didn't know the 2 Y's, though. I knew it had something to do with you, but I didn't know the connection with the other Y. So I'm on a conversation with my brother, and I'm like, I don't know what these Y's stand for. So he started saying, well, what about younger you? And I was like, no, because I want women to feel their energy and their connectedness now like I am. Because as I shared with you, I was chomping at the bit, turning 40.
Yep.
And I just knew things were going to shift and change when I turned 40. So this was 41 when I was working with this energy. And I kept moving with the words you and you. I was like, oh, it's you and you. So it's freedom to love the you and you. And that's how the energy around FLYY was birthed. And that's why now it's empowerment, freedom, coaching, movement, and more. So we've created our own brand of love and support. So therapy, no. Counseling, no. But empowerment, freedom, coaching, yes. Does it have counseling energy in it? Of course. Are there therapeutic connections? Absolutely. But Spirit was very clear with me, empowerment, freedom, coaching, because the idea is for women to feel empowered, courageous, and free to live the life they want, need, and desire unapologetically, non-negotiably, releasing fear, releasing shame, guilt, and embarrassment, all of that. Checking in to the trauma that's in front of our ability to live our lives in the way that we want. So I very gently have a process to check into that. And then we very gently remove the energy of trauma. So we're no longer living life through a lens of trauma, but we're now living life through a lens of triumph. And the process takes 6 months to a year and a half, however long each individual self-healer, I never use the word client.
Right.
It's always the word self-healer, because I really, really believe, and I know that everyone has the ability to heal themselves. For me, I'm just with you alongside you
Right,
during your
but they
journey.
have to do the real work.
Correct.
They have
Correct.
to do the real work.
And I know what that work entails because I did 11 years of my own intense therapeutic journey at the Harvard Institute for Healing in the Arts, which is now where I received my training. I'm at the final level, and that's what gives me the credibility to be able to launch Empowerment Freedom Coaching.
So interesting how you've come so far. Tell me what happened in your marriage. What happened where you became a survivor?
2014 was the year that I married, and had such high hopes for this moment where my former husband and I will come together, bring our families back together, and then have this moment of living life as parents to our children and creating family on our terms. But if we come into marriages, relationships with baggages of trauma, and those baggages gone unacknowledged, unrecognized, for whatever reason, failure to recognize and do the work to do the healing is a recipe for disaster. And so what began to build in our marriage very quickly was that kind of energy. So for me, it was financial, it was psychological, it was emotional. There are moments where it was physical, and it was a build. The first year of our marriage was rocky. The second year of our marriage was difficult. The third year was horrible. We had many moments of, several moments of threat, against me. The final moment, and I've actually written a piece called Unchecked Trauma, the final moment was the threat on my life and on my children's lives. And it really was this energy around, I'm so mad and so angry, I could kill you and kill everybody else. So do yourself a favor and get out of here for your own good and safety. That was it for me.
So how did you leave?
Oh, there was no hesitation. I knew the marriage was falling apart. I knew I was leaving. I had 2 plans. One plan was to get the divorce, make the plan of transition, and to move out with support. Once you know that you're leaving and you know the energy of what you're dealing with, you have to really create the plan very carefully and strategically for your own safety. And my former husband also has firearms. So that was a very significant consideration. I was working on the sidelines doing all of that. I had a divorce attorney, I had a plan. My children were aware. That was plan A. Plan B is if anything escalates, we're out of here.
Right.
For our own safety. And that night, it escalated. So that night, and then after the threat, he went and showered and went on with life. I didn't sleep that night. We were no longer sleeping in the same bedroom anyway, but I didn't sleep that night. My eyes were open the entire time because I was completely anxious, overwhelmed, terrified, and didn't feel safe. And my children were my daughters were in the other, teenage daughters were in the other room. The next morning, I told him I'm taking the girls to school. I got them up. I took them to school. Then I went to see my best friend, my sister friend, told her what happened, and called my mother, told her what happened. We went straight to the police station. And I'm on, gotta do it, gotta get it done. So I'm in survival mode.
Right.
We get to the police station, and the police are hesitating with believing what I'm saying. And so my sister's there and I'm going to get emotional in a minute. My sister was there to sort of help with the words. And at that point is when things started to break, and I realized what was happening, and I couldn't speak.
Right.
So my sister had to speak for me until I can breathe through, reconnect, and find the words to let this police officer know my life and my children's life has just been threatened, and you need to do something about it and do it now. So when he finally could feel that, then he started to move. Then we started to do the paperwork. Then they went to find him, and then they arrested him. Then I had to go get the girls, pick them up, go back to the house. All we could do is collect what we could very quickly, leave the house. I made a few phone calls, and we went into shelter safety. And we had to be in shelter safety for 2 years without anyone really knowing, except folks who were closest to us, where we were.
Wow.
Because it wasn't safe for our address to be known. Now, the girl still, my daughter went on to start her first year in college at AIC. My other daughter went on to continue with school, but we were tucked away. I still conducted business. Most folks didn't even know what was happening to me because I didn't share.
Did you get a restraining order?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So we had to navigate the court system, which is terrifying too. We had to get a restraining order. I wanted to do it myself. My girls were like, no, we're coming with you. So, and court is a whole nother situation because you can actually have to face your perpetrator in an open setting. And this was before COVID.
Yeah.
In an open setting. So I also had, someone from the court system, an advocate who was supporting me, who helped me put the statement together. And, because we have to put the statement together. We have to pay them, get everything waived. We have to make sure that they get served. We, as the victim, has to do all that. And you're in trauma mode.
Yeah.
When that's happening. So the victim advocates do support. They do help. We went to court because we had a temporary restraining order, and then we had to go back in a certain amount of days to get the permanent restraining order that stays intact now with the state of Connecticut for a year. It used to be just 6 months. It's now a full year.
Yeah.
So we had the civil court, the restraining order, and the family violence protective order through the criminal court.
One of the interesting facts that haunts me with stats, because I have done a podcast on domestic violence before and talked to CCADV, the Connecticut Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and battered U.S. women are 75% less likely to die when they don't leave their abuser. That to me is such a frightening statistic because that's, people always say, well, why didn't she leave? Well, you got to get your plan together like you did. And you had to have all your ducks in a row.
Right.
And a lot of women
don't have that.
Don't have that.
And there's a fear factor. There's a terror factor. There's a paralysis factor. I'm sort of on both sides. One, I've gone through this healing journey, so I know what it's like to work through the energies of trauma. And then I was already working on the other side of that as being someone who supports healing. But I needed to have an up close and personal connection and experience in order for me to really be able to talk with women who are struggling through trauma, to be able to say, I know what this feels like.
Right.
I know the energy around anxiety. I know the energy around depression. I know the energy around suicidal ideation. I know all of this because I've been there.
Right.
So I know what it takes to get to the other side.
You had 6 kids.
I have 6 kids. I birthed 4. 2 adopted me as a mama. So yes, I'm definitely a mom of 6 Fly Royals. But that piece, that difference between leaving, because I had someone ask me, why didn't you just leave? I said, because there's an emotional, psychological entanglement to that. There's also a disbelief, like, I can't even believe this is happening to me. How is this even happening to me?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter your status. It doesn't matter how much money you make.
How much education you've had.
How much education you have. It doesn't matter your status in your faith-based organizations. None of that matters. Domestic violence has no face. It just is unchecked trauma manifesting in this way. And so that's the reason why I wrote the piece. And I didn't share it until, I think it was 2018. 2019. This is 2 years later when we were able to safely begin the process of coming out of shelter safety.
And what was that like, and who helped you do that?
We had close-knit folks close to us in our family who had a home in a remote location where we could be tucked away.
Wow.
So we never had to do necessarily go into DV shelters, although Innova House was on the top of my list. In the event that we had to do that, I was all set. But I made one phone call, and this individual said, oh, yeah, come. Because consequently, months before, she had said to me, Sistah Anyango, if you ever need a place to come my home is open for you and the girls. And I said, okay, okay, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Never thought I would have to call and ask, can we? And for her to say, absolutely. And we left what we could put in a suitcase and go. We had 20 minutes with the police to collect what we could collect our lifetime in that house. 20 minutes. And then we were able to come back a few more times to collect whatever else we could under police escort. And when we came back the second time, he was there. But the police were there. So we, again, had to face him, collect what we could again while the police were there, another 20 minutes, and then leave.
Has there been an attempt for him to get a hold of you?
Oh, no, you know better.
Yeah.
Because to do that means you go back to jail.
Right.
So there was no inclination to do that at all. That was 2017. This is 2022. The majority of our belongings are still in that house.
Oh, my goodness.
But we started over. So do we need all of that? No.
No.
Because we've started over. We've created, we've healed from that because we all needed therapy, all of us. And we all got it.
Did you go as a family?
We did both.
Yeah.
Because each of the girls had their own individual work to do around their own trauma, and then I had my own to do around personally, and also so that I could heal to be able to now work and support women who were going to go through this experience. So it's both. And this is the other reason why those of us who are in healing and supportive kinds of energies, whether we're counselors or therapists or healers, have to continue to be in our own process.
Yeah.
We cannot stop. Because as humans living a spiritual existence, we can't afford to stop doing work on ourselves, to stop growing, stop transforming, stop evolving.
Right.
So to this day, I still have my own reset session every week, Monday afternoon at 1:30. You best believe I don't miss it.
Right.
Because I still have energies that I need to work through and process at the level that my higher power wants me to keep doing this. So it does not stop. As long as I'm here on the planet, I will continue to do my own work.
I want to sort of bring it back to Connecticut paid leave in this, Sistah Anyango. Do you think that it could have helped you in that time during your struggle? Because it does give 12 days for you. It would be income replacement if you did need to go to court, if you did need to move and find shelter, if you did need to use services. All of those things I think you needed to have.
Absolutely. I think CT paid leave, being able to support women in transition who are moving quickly, rapidly out of domestic violent situations would certainly benefit. Because one of the reasons why, as I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons why women stay is financial.
Yeah, right.
What am I going to do? I got to work. And now that I'm in transition, now I have to deal with food, clothing, shelter, the basic human needs. What am I going to do now? And that's another reason why women will sometimes stay, because they're perpetrating. Well, what are you going to do? You can't make it out there on your own. How are you going to figure that out? You can't do this. You can't do that. And we can get beat down to an extent where we don't leave.
Right. And mentally.
So that's helpful.
And emotionally, you think you can't leave. And that's another thing. If you were, you can also get services emotionally, psychologically, and also if physically you were hurt. Like, so these 12 days that you might not be able to work and you can get income replacement, I think it's beneficial. I hope at some point we can get it to be more than 12 days. But I am so thankful that we have this because a lot of other states do not.
Yeah, and I think Connecticut is definitely in the forerunners to be able to create this, because 12 days, one day, is crucial. 2, 3, 12. That's like a lifetime when you're moving and you're in transition.
Yeah.
Because that gives you time and space to just exhale, to just still have resources, to be able to connect. Critically important in those first days, weeks, to be able to transition safely, connect to resource, and get the help that you need. It's the difference between life and probably death. Those 12 days that CT paid leave is now able to offer, and that women can avail themselves of.
Let me ask you how you worked through this whole situation and continued the FLYY movement.
Support. That's the way that we do it. We can't do it without support. and support on a multitude of levels. We got therapeutic support in the wings. We had family and family, as I say, which is family, connected with us. A very snug circle of support who helped us to move from one energy to another. And then when I was able to open out, when we came out of shelter safety, and now it was safe enough for us to now secure our own sanctuary, is what we called it. Then I had to, open up now and seek more support, which was difficult in the beginning, even for me, to open up, to let folks know what happened. And they were in shock, like, but you never stopped. We were still flying. You were still, and I said, indeed, because coming out of it and my divorce being final was also the 10th anniversary of FLYY.
Oh, wow.
It's in 2007. So we left in 2007, and we had the 10th anniversary, October 7th, 8th of 2017, and my divorce was final in November. So all of this was occurring then, and I went to a retreat in 2018 and started writing ferociously, didn't understand what was happening, but all these pieces were coming out of me. The first one was Unchecked Trauma, which is about my former husband and that journey through domestic violence and abuse. And I read that piece when I was able to come out in 2019, and the jaws dropped. Then it became, wow, if you could navigate through this, then I can.
What would your fly self now tell the woman who is going through domestic violence? What would you tell her now?
This isn't the end. You are worthy and deserving of love and support to find your beginning, is what I would say. And I paused because I needed to breathe and connect with what my higher power is sharing with me to then share with her or him, as a case may be. But this isn't the end.
Right.
And reaching out for love and support, you have the ability, and you're worthy and deserving of a new beginning.
It's funny, a lot of people, women, don't like to ask for help.
That goes back to not being given permission to do that. And that's part of what I also coach. Give yourself permission to reach out for help, because I really, really struggle with that.
What you went through, albeit terrifying and terrible, was probably what you had to do for you to be able to help other women who are in this particular situation
Correct.
of domestic violence, because you recognize it, you see it,
Yes.
and you know what they're going through. And I think that understanding and empathy that you have is what makes you so special.
Thank you.
And that you can help other women get to the other side like you have.
True. And that's critically important for women to be able to see that this is not the end.
It's not the end.
You're in it in the moment, but you don't have to stay here.
Do you remember your first client?
My first self-healer?
Yeah.
I do.
You do.
She's still in the wings.
That's great.
She's still in the wings. And part of the struggle was to first recognize that she was in an abusive relationship, which took a minute to recognize and become aware of, because there's an energy of denial. This can't be happening to me. And then there's also the cycle that we talk about, when something happens, then there's a moment of recognition, then there's a sweetheart phase, I'm sorry, and all the promises, and then things settle down for a minute until the next moment. And the cycle continues. We're caught in that cycle, inevitably forever, until we recognize that this is not ever going to end. And the moments increase with intensity until there's a threat on someone's life, or there's something that happens where someone is physically and emotionally broken. So there's that recognition, that awareness that one is actually in an abusive relationship. And then get to the point of seeking support about that. Then get to the point where they have enough sense of self inside themselves to remove themselves from the situation. Now, there's no time frame on that either.
Right,
It can
of
be
course.
years.
Yeah.
Or it may never happen.
Yeah.
It's my hope that they find themselves on the Zumba dance floor, or they find themselves in a workshop of mine, or they find themselves on a live in a session where they say, you know what, maybe I don't have to stay here. That is my hope. That's something I say, something I post, anywhere, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, live, in person, that something connects.
Well, your narrative connects. Like you've been there. Like, so there's that common experience, I feel. And it makes that safe for the person to talk to you and get the help and recognize. Because once you start talking about it, then you hold yourself accountable, really, or your children or whomever you're holding yourself accountable for. But I don't know, you're a special person.
Because fly is fly. That's everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. It's been professional organizations, schools, churches, everybody, you're fly. I'm fly. That's right. You certainly are.
Well, you certainly are. I just really had a wonderful time with you.
I enjoyed it. It was great.
On this podcast. If someone listening needs help, or you think a friend or family member is in trouble, or you just need someone to talk to, please visit ctsafeconnect.org or call or text 888-774-2900. Advocates are available 24/7, and please dial 911 if you feel you are in danger. I just want to thank you so much for being on this podcast. I can't thank you enough. These women that you meet and that you help and that you inspire, and you heal the broken bits and help them recognize what or who are the peace protectors for them. I think that is so vital.
I love that. I really, really love that. Peace protectors, because that's part of what the last workshop I facilitated, because I do it seasonally, was find your peace. And that's what we talked about in August during the workshop session that came up. And the next one is coming up in November, which is love yourself, live your life.
Gotta love that. Sistah Anyango, you certainly have done that. It's been a pleasure learning more about you.
Before we leave, Nancy, you got to tell everybody why you fly. So if I say freedom to love the you and you, who's fly? You got to say, I'm fly.
Yes. I was watching the whole video. Don't you think I don't know? And you better stay fly.
So tell everybody, identify yourself. My name is Nancy and I'm fly because, tell everybody.
I'm Nancy Barrow and I'm fly because I have a fabulous job and I've pivoted to an amazing career.
Yes.
See?
Yes.
See what I'm saying?
Yes.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being here again.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity to really rock and roll and talk about fly.
And congratulations on 15 years.
Oh my God. Thank you.
For more information on CT Paid Leave or to apply for benefits, please go to ctpaidleave.org. This has been another edition of the Paid Leave Podcast. Please like and subscribe so you'll be notified about new podcasts that become available. Connecticut Paid Leave is a public act with a personal purpose. I'm Nancy Barrow, and thanks for listening.